My husband is the type of husband who would take our daughter to visit his parents on the weekends, all so I can have some alone time. But there was a hidden motive behind his kindness. I became consumed with anger towards him when I learned the truth. Unforgivable. Surprisingly, the most unexpected couple empathized with my anger and took action to reprimand my husband. My name is Emily. I live with my husband Jack and our daughter Lisa. My husband didn't have a close relationship with his parents and was reluctant to visit them even after we got married. He would always say, "You shouldn't have to deal with the awkwardness of going to my parents' house. We should enjoy our day off, just the two of us." It was nice of him to say that, but when our daughter was born, I knew things couldn't remain the same. His parents came to the hospital right after she was born, but we hadn't taken Lisa to see them since then. I started to feel guilty about not letting them see their granddaughter for half a year. "Hey, Jack, don't you think your parents would like to see their grandchild? We should take Lisa to see them soon. It's only fair."
"Don't worry about it. I don't want to spend my day off listening to my dad's nagging."
Jack's father was quite strict, and it seems that they didn't get along well since he was young. I felt hesitant to go visit his parents alone, especially considering our already distant relationship. Reluctantly, I enclosed a few photos of Lisa and apologized for our absence in a letter. Every time his parents would respond with a kind, "Thank you for the photos. Don't worry about not being able to come visit." However, as Lisa grew older and it became difficult for Jack and I to go out as a couple, he suddenly started saying, "I'm going to my parents' house for a visit."
"I know you're always busy taking care of Lisa on a daily basis. Why don't you take some time to relax by yourself? I'll take Lisa with me."
"Oh, I feel bad about that. I never get to see your parents either. I'll come along."
"No, it's fine. I often come home late from work, right? It looks like it'll continue for a while, so I want you to rest when you can."
Convinced by his insistence, I happily sent off my husband and Lisa. Having Lisa there must have improved relations between Jack and his parents. He was in a good mood when they returned home. Ever since, he has continued his routine of working late on weekdays and visiting his parents with Lisa on the weekends. Come to think of it, when was the last time I had some alone time with my husband? There was hardly any time for my husband and me to be alone. One Friday night, I decided to wait for him to come home so we could talk. "Welcome home."
"Emily, why are you still up?"
"I want to talk to you about something."
"About what?" "I want to go to sleep. We'll be leaving early tomorrow to go to my parents' house."
"That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm thinking about joining you guys tomorrow."
"What? Why? You don't need to come."
"I appreciate the thought, but I've had plenty of alone time already. I'd like to see Lisa interacting with her grandparents every once in a while too, you know? Plus, we haven't had much time for the two of us to talk lately." My husband hesitantly replied,
"It's kind of hard to say this, but it seems like my parents feel more comfortable when it's just me and Lisa. They feel a bit conscious when you're around."
I was at a loss for words when I heard him say that.
"Take some time for yourself at home."
As I indulged in these words from my husband, I wondered if a rift was unknowingly forming between me and my in-laws.
"I'm going to visit my parents with Lisa tomorrow, just the two of us. Anyway, I'm going to take a shower and go to bed."
Jack spoke as he briskly made his way to the bathroom. With him putting it like that, there was nothing I could do. After the two left for his parents' house the next day, I wrote a letter to my in-laws for the first time in a long while. I apologized for not staying in touch and expressed my desire to visit them once in a while. This reminded me of when I used to write letters to them after giving birth. Back then, they used to respond kindly, but now I don't know if I'll receive a reply from them. After sending the letter, I waited for their response, as checking the mailbox became my routine. One day, I found a letter in the mailbox. It was from my in-laws. My heart pounded as I opened the envelope. The content of the letter was something I didn't expect. "We're glad to hear from you after such a long time. How is Lisa?"
Has she grown a lot? We would be happy if you could send us some photos again.
Judging from the content, it seemed that they hadn't seen Lisa in a long time. Then, where had my husband and Lisa been going every weekend? I thought back to my husband's recent behavior. Come to think of it, there was usually a scent of soap coming from Jack when he came home late. But the day I stayed up waiting for him, he was in a rush to take a shower. Could it be an affair? Suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights, leaving the house early on the weekends. I wanted to confront him immediately, but managed to restrain myself. If he was really having an affair, I needed evidence. That night, as soon as my husband fell asleep, I unlocked his phone. I searched through some past texts and easily found evidence of the affair. Plans for dates on his days off, messages about meeting up, and affectionate conversations were scattered everywhere. And one more thing. I found an email from a daycare center. It seems Jack was dropping Lisa off at a daycare center while he went to see his mistress, lying to me about going to his parents' house and leaving Lisa at a daycare, all to have an affair. My anger reached its peak. No man who abandons his precious daughter to meet his mistress deserves to be a father. I decided to first gather evidence of the affair. I gritted my teeth, holding back the urge to confront him immediately, and waited for the weekend. After Jack and Lisa left to visit his parents' house, as usual, I secretly followed behind them. Without realizing that I was following, Jack dropped Lisa off at the daycare center, completely accustomed to the process. Meanwhile, Lisa cried, looking distressed to be left at an unfamiliar daycare. "Lisa, hang tight just a little longer. I'll be back to pick you up right away." With a sense of unease and reluctance, I trailed behind my husband, unable to shake off the lingering feeling. My husband, all giddy and excited, arrived at the train station and ran up to a woman with a big smile on his face. The woman also spotted him and ran over. She must be Jack's mistress. They didn't seem to care that they were in public as they got all lovey-dovey, walking arm in arm. There was no longer any doubt about Jack's infidelity. Just as I captured an intimate moment between them in a photo, my phone rang. "Hello? Oh, mother-in-law." The call was from Jack's mother. "Long time no talk. What? Father-in-law?" My mother-in-law, on the verge of tears, told me that my father-in-law had been rushed to the hospital after collapsing. I hurried back to the daycare to pick up Lisa, and then headed straight to the hospital. My father-in-law was in the bed, still unconscious. Beside him, my mother-in-law had an anxious expression on her face. "Emily, thank you for coming." "Oh no, I should apologize for not being in touch." "That's not important right now." My mother-in-law noticed Lisa, and her eyes lit up. "You've grown so much. Look, honey, Lisa's here to see you. Please wake up." She spoke to her unconscious husband, her eyes welling up with tears. But there was no response from my father-in-law. She wiped her tears and spoke to me. "I tried calling Jack, but couldn't get through. I left him a message, but I guess he hasn't noticed it." "I'll give him a ring." I called Jack. He didn't pick up at first, but after persistent calling, he finally answered.
"Emily, what's up?"
"Where are you? You weren't answering and I was worried."
I'm out fishing with Dad. Bad reception here."
My mother-in-law looked at me in shock at his words. I nodded to her and continued with the conversation. "With your father? That's odd, because he's right here in front of me."
What? Where the heck are you?"
"I'm at the hospital. Your mother called to tell me that your father collapsed and was taken to the hospital."
So that's why my mom kept calling.
You knew she was calling and ignored her, didn't you? Was your rendezvous with your friend that important?
What are you talking about?
Don't play innocent right now. It's too late. I already know that you've been lying about going to your parents' house and instead having secret dates with your mistress.
How? How did you find out?
I wrote a letter to your parents, apologizing for not visiting in so long. Turns out they hadn't seen not only me, but you and Lisa either. I was shocked. If you want to meet your mistress so badly that you leave Lisa alone in daycare, don't even bother coming home.
Hold on, I'll go pick up Lisa right now and head over there.
I already picked her up. I can't believe you left her looking so sad and lonely.
You followed me?
Well, yes, I needed evidence for me to claim alimony after we get a divorce. I've got all the important scenes on camera now, so I can finally have peace of mind.
Divorce? Alimony? Hold on. That's not what I...
That was when I heard a sweet voice coming from the other end of the phone. Jack, are you still on the phone? Hurry up and come over. He hastily reacted to that voice.
Be quiet. If this gets out, we'll be paying alimony.
It sounds like he was speaking to his mistress, but his voice was loud and clear for us to hear. With my mother-in-law as a witness, claiming alimony was now a sure thing. I hung up the phone in disbelief. My mother-in-law gazed at me with astonishment.
The conversation you just had with Jack.
I'm sorry for all the trouble at such a difficult time. Jack has been out of the house every weekend lately, saying that he's going to visit you with Lisa.
They haven't been coming over here at all.
Yes, I noticed he'd been lying when I received the letter from you that led me to discover his affair.
Jack's having an affair? How could he do such a thing when he has such an adorable daughter?
He prioritized his mistress over our daughter. Today, as always, he left a reluctant Lisa in a daycare to go on a date with her.
So, that's why he initially lied about being out fishing with his father.
Having an affair is one thing, but what I couldn't forgive was how he neglected Lisa. I was collecting evidence to get a divorce when I received a call from you.
Is that so? I'm sorry about my son.
No, you don't have to apologize. Besides, it's not right to talk about us while your husband is in this condition. Just then, a raspy voice echoed through the hospital room.
Don't worry about it.
My mother-in-law and I were startled as we looked toward the source of the voice. My father-in-law, who barely opened his eyes, spoke to me.
Emily, feel free to let go of my son whenever.
Father-in-law! I hastily pressed the nurse call button. My mother-in-law rushed out into the hallway to get the doctor. The doctor arrived and after examining my father-in-law said,
No need to worry anymore. We'll keep him here one more day just to be safe. But if there's no change in his condition, he can be discharged tomorrow.
Thank you so much. My mother-in-law and I joyfully held hands. My father-in-law was also watching us with a gentle expression. As the doctor left the room, Jack entered.
Dad, are you okay?
Jack, aren't you supposed to be on a date? My husband tried to calm me down in a response to my remark.
Well, that was a misunderstanding. I just wanted some me time to unwind over the weekend. I might have blurted out something about going to my parents' place, but I haven't done anything to betray you.
He looked straight into my eyes as he spoke. For a moment, I almost believed him. But I had concrete evidence. I won't be fooled by you anymore. I saw you meeting up with a woman at the train station.
She's a colleague from work, and we happened to bump into each other.
But you guys started walking intimately together, didn't you?
We both hadn't eaten lunch yet, so we decided to grab some lunch.
Then what about the voice I heard over the phone? I'm sure I heard. If they find out about us, we'll get hit with alimony. At my words, Jack seemed flustered, but continued to look straight into my eyes as he continued.
I don't remember saying anything like that. Maybe it was a couple's conversation from the table behind us at the restaurant.
It seems like he was going to play dumb until the end. Am I just going to be swindled again? Just as I thought that, my father-in-law shouted at Jack.
"Cut the crap. You've always been like this. When you lie, you always look people straight in the eyes."
Hearing his father's anger, Jack immediately shrank back. In a barely audible voice, he retorted against his father.
Dad, it's none of your business." "None of my business? Have you forgotten all the times you've deceived people and caused trouble? You haven't grown at all. Don't you have any sense of responsibility as a father?" "Dad, please calm down." "Shut up, you foolish son."
When I showed him the evidence on my phone, Jack finally gave in and admitted to the affair. Having been scolded by his dad must have hit hard. He accepted all my demands without making any excuses. First, we would proceed with the divorce as soon as his father is discharged from the hospital. I would get full custody of our daughter. He would transfer alimony and child support to my bank account every month. Following the suggestion of my father-in-law, I created a written agreement on the spot and had Jack sign it. Afterward, Jack bolted out of the room. He probably went back to his mistress. I, who remained in the room, bowed deeply to my in-laws. I'm really sorry for everything. If only I had gone with Jack and Lisa when they said they were going to visit you guys, none of this would have happened. My father-in-law responded kindly to me.
"None of this is on you. The one at fault here is Jack. He betrayed his family. He's always had a tendency to disregard others' feelings and act according to his own selfish desires. I've tried talking to him time and again, but he never listened and only resented me for it."
So that's why he was so reluctant to go back home.
"That's probably it. I thought he might grow up a bit after getting married, but I guess I was too optimistic. I've put you through a lot. I'm really sorry."
Oh no, it's me who should apologize. My mother-in-law hesitantly spoke to me. I feel terrible for what our son did, tainting your marriage records. I'm really sorry. It's okay. Being divorced or being a single mom isn't that unusual. We probably shouldn't be the ones saying this, but we'd still like to see you and Lisa, even after you cut ties with our son. We'll do whatever we can for the two of you. So if you ever need help, please don't hesitate to ask. I had no intention of getting back together with Jack, but being a first-time parent was full of uncertainties. My mother-in-law's offer made me so grateful that I was brought to tears. My father-in-law agreed with her.
"Yep, I'd like to second that. Let us support you and Lisa in place of our foolish son. Of course, I'll make sure he pays the alimony and child support."
Thank you both so much. I gave them a deep bow. After my father-in-law was discharged from the hospital, I started visiting their home with Lisa every once in a while. I didn't mind going to visit them at all, and Lisa loved spending time with her grandparents. I would have loved to visit even more, but I was worried about running into Jack. Perhaps noticing my concern, my father-in-law updated me on Jack's situation. As expected, Jack headed straight to his mistress's place after leaving the hospital. But she became unreachable a day after he brought up alimony. Apparently, they met on a dating app, and he didn't know her address or even her real name. Perhaps she was only after his money from the beginning, as she was much younger than Jack, and dressed in flashy attire. She must have realized that she couldn't get any more money and decided to abandon him. I couldn't find her either, so getting alimony from her was impossible. But thanks to my father-in-law, who advised me to set up the alimony a bit higher than average, what I received from Jack was sufficient for living. Jack, realizing he couldn't pay the alimony and child support with what was left of his assets, seemingly went to his parents to ask for money. My father-in-law didn't let him set foot inside the house.
"I'm cutting ties with a foolish son like you. Don't ever come back. And don't you dare bother Emily."
And with that, he was kicked out. Jack was barely making ends meet and was somehow scraping together alimony and child support. Hearing all this made me feel relieved. Since my in-laws cut ties with him, I didn't have to worry about running into him while visiting them. I must say, Marrying Jack was a mistake, but getting to know such kind and wonderful in-laws was a silver lining.